Looks like we're live. Okay. I'm doing some maintenance on my computer and everything, but I am going to go ahead and this will be part 4 of the Hiawatha story. Give me a couple of clicks to get back where it was, and let me get my ruler to help me because it is what we used whenever I had that was doing that data processing job. Okay, we are on 10 Hiawatha's wooing. Woman is to man as a cord is to a bow, thought Hiawatha. She bends him, yet obeys him. She draws him, yet she follows. Each is useless without the other. Hiawatha was dreaming of the lovely maiden Minnehaha, whom he had seen in the country of the Dakotas. Dakotas. Yeah, that's what it is. Dakotas. Okay. Do not wed a stranger, Hiawatha, warned old Nokomis. Do not search in the east or in the west to win a bride. Take the maid of your take a maid of your own people, for the homely daughter of a daughter is like the pleasant fire on a hearthstone, while the stranger is cold and distant, like a starlight or like light of the pale moon. But Hiawatha only smiled and answered, Dear Mukomas, the fire of the hearthstone is indeed pleasant and warm, but I love the starlight and the moonlight better. Do not bring home an idle woman, said old Nokomis. Bring not home a maiden who is unskilled with the needle and will never cook nor sew. And Hiawatha answered, Good Nokomis, in the land of the Dakotas lives a daughter of an arrow maker, and she is the most beautiful of all the women in the world. Her name is Minnehaha, and I will bring her home and do your bidding and to be your firelight, your moonlight, and your starlight all in one. Ah, Hiawatha warned Nomus, bring not home the maiden, a maid of the Dakotas. Are you okay, Sabrina? If y'all hear the snorting, this is Sabrina. She's got a very bad cold, and I need to, you know, pet on her. Okay, let's get back to the book. The Dakotas were fierce and cruel, and there is often war between our tribe and theirs. Hiawatha laughed and answered, I will wed a maid of the Dakotas, and old wars shall be forgotten, and new and lasting peace that make the two tribes friends forevermore. For this alone will I wed the loving, laughing waters, if there were no other reason. Hiawatha left his wigwam for the home of the old arrow maker, and he ran through the forest as lightly as the wind until he heard the clear fall, voice of the falls of Minnehaha. That sun. Okay, give me a second to raise it up. Okay, that the sunny edges of the forest, a herd of deer were feeding, and they did not see the swift-footed runner until he sent a hissing arrow among them and killed a roebuck. Without pausing, Hiawatha cut up the deer and slung it over his shoulders. running forward until he came to the home of the aged arrow maker. The old man was sitting in the doorway of his wigwam, and at and at his side were all his tools, all his arrows he was making. At his side also was the lovely Minnehaha wearing mats of reeds and water rushes, and the old man and the young maiden sat together in pleasant contrast of age and youth. The one thinking of the past and the one dreaming of the future. Give me a second. Okay. The old man was thinking of days when, with such arrows as he had was making, he had killed a deer and bison, and had shot the wild goose on the wing. He remembered the great war parties that came to buy his arrows, and how they could not fight unless he had arrowheads to sell. Alas, such days were over, and he thought sadly, and so much splendid warriors were left on the earth. The maiden was dreaming of a tall, handsome hunter who had come one morning when the year was young to purchase arrows of her father. He had rested in their wigwam, lingered and looked back as he was leaving, and her father had praised his courage and his wisdom. Would the hunter ever come back in search of arrows? Thought the lovely Minnehaha. The rushes she were wearing lay unfingered in her lap, that she was weaving laid unfringed in her lap. So she was looming. I kind of know how to do that, but something to do. I kind of do it with yarn right there now a little bit. But I got my hands full right now. Ooh, don't sneeze on me. Okay. Just then they heard a rustle and swift footsteps in the thicket, and Hiawatha, with a deer upon his shoulders and a glow upon his cheeks and forehead, stood before them in the sunlight. "Welcome, Hiawatha," said the old arrow maker in a grave but friendly tone, and Minnehaha light voice echoed deep one of her father's saying, "Welcome, Hiawatha." Together the old maker and Hiawatha entered the wigwam, and Minnehaha laid aside her mat of rushes and brought them food and drink in vessels of earthen bowls of basswood. Yet she did not say a word until a world did not say a word while she was serving them, not listening, as if a dream, to what Hiawatha told her father about Nokomis and Chi 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 Chiboybus Chi Chiboybus and the strong man Watson, and the happiness and peace of his own people, the Abaj- Abajabwe, Ojabways. Yeah, Ojabwe. There, I got that right now. Huh. Okay. Hiawatha finished his words by saying slowly that this peace may always be among us and our tribes become as brothers to each other. Give me your hand, the hand of your daughter, Minnehaha, the loveliest of women. The aged arrow maker paused before he answered and looked proudly at Hiawatha and lovely at his daughter, and then said, You may have her if she wishes it. Speak, Hiawatha, and let us know your will. The lovely Minnehaha seemed more beautiful than ever as she looked first at Hiawatha and then at her old father. Softly she took the seat beside Hiawatha, blushing as she answered, I will follow you, my husband. This Thus did Hiawatha win the daughter of the ancient arrow maker. Together he and his bride left the wigwam hand in hand and went away together over the meadows where the old arrow maker was shading his eyes after them and called out sadly, Goodbye, Minnehaha. Goodbye, my lovely daughter. They walked together through the sunlit forest, and all the birds and animals gazed at them for among the branch the leaves and branches. When they came to swift rivers, Hiawatha lifted Minnehaha and carried her across, and in his strong arms she seemed lighter than a willow leaf or a plume upon his headgear. At night he cleared away the thickets and built a lodge of branches. He made a bed of hemlock boughs and kindled the fire of pine cones before the doorway. And a Ajadumo, the squirrel, climbed down from his desk and kept watch, while the two lovers spent in their lodge beneath the stars. Okay, now we're in 11. It sounds gross, girl. Hiawatha Weddings Feast. Okay, a great feast was prepared. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I hit the wrong button and it started going down. So give me a second to get back up there. I hate this when that happens. Especially when you have to read it on a computer and you got um what's this thing? A mouse pad on a canvas with a mouse and on front of it because I don't have any space over here because everything's all jumped up, and then I got slobbery mouth giving herself a bath on me. Okay, that's enough. Oh, that's enough. And give me a second. I gotta situate her and then grab a swallow of water. Or a couple. A thought just walked through my head. I have an Android phone. I don't have a iPhone. So some of my customers are trying to contact me with their iPhone, and I cannot. Uh, my text does not do it. You're gonna have to go. Okay, I got rid of her because she was giving herself a bath, and it was getting sounding weird in my ears. Okay, let's get back to 11. Hiawatha's Wedding Feast. A great feast was prepared by Hiawatha to celebrate his wedding, that the feast might be one of and joy and gladness. The sweet singer, sweet singer Chibabas sang his love songs that it might be merry. The handsome Pudpak Kiwis danced his lively dance, and to make the wedding guests even more content, I don't know, is it Agu or Lugu, the great boaster, told them a wonderful story. Oh, but it was a splendid feast that Nokomis prepared at the bidding of Hiawatha. She sent messengers with willow wands through all the village as a sign that all Objaways were invited, and the wedding guests wore all their brightest garments, rich fur robes and wampum belts, beads of many colors painted with feathers and gay tassels. All the bowls at the feast were made of white and shining basswood. All the spoons were made of bison horn, as black as ink, and polished until the black was as bright as silver. And the Indians feast on the flesh of the sturgeon and the pike, on buffalo marrow and the hump of the bison and the hunch of the red deer. They ate pounds of meat called peman, pemmican, and white rice that grew by the river bank, and yellow and golden yellow cakes of Indian corn. Was a feast indeed. But at that time, host Hiawatha did not take a mouthful of all this tempting food. Neither did Minnehaha nor Norcamus, but all three waited on their to guests and served them carefully until their wants were generously satisfied. When all had finished, old Nokomis filled from an apple otter pouch the red stone pipes with fragrant tobacco of the South, and when the blue smoke was risen freely, she said, "O Paku Kiwas, dance your merry badger dance to please us, so the time may pass more pleasantly and our guests might be more gay." Paku Pa Pakuis rose and stood amid the guests. He rose his white shirt of doeskin, fringed with ermine and covered with beads of wampum. He wore deerskin's leggings, also fringed with ermine and quails of Ka, the hedgehog. On his feet were buckskin moccasins, richly embroidered, and red foxtails to flourish while he danced are were fastened to his heels. The snowy plume of swan down floated above his head. He carried a gay fan in one hand and a pipe with tassels on the other. Okay, give me a second. Let me pause this. Sorry about that. She had to go. She's at the door. They ain't gonna let anybody else in right now. Okay. Ta- um, in one hand and a pipe with tassels on the other. All the warriors disliked Pacuves and called him coward and idler, but he cared not that all because he was so handsome that all the women and the maidens loved him. So the sounds of the drums and flutes and singing voices of Pacues, Pacuines, Kiwis, now began the dance of the badgers. First he danced with a slow step and steady motion in and out of the shadows and the sunshine, gilding like a panther among the pine trees. But he stepped his steps became faster and faster and wilder until the wind and dust swept around him like as he danced. Time after time he leapt over the heads of the assembled guests and rushed around the wigwam, and at last he sped along the shores of the big sea water, stomping on the sands and tossing it fiercely in the air until the wind became as whirlwind and the sand was blowing in great drifts like snowdrifts all over the shore. There they had stayed until there there they had stayed until this day. The great sand hills of Naguwojo. Okay, Nag Nagowojo. Okay. When the Badger Dash dance was over, Pakuwes returned and sat down laughing among the guests and fanned himself as calmly as he had not stirred from his seat, while all the guests cried out, "Sing to us, Chibios, sing your love songs." And Hiawatha and Nokomis said, "Yes, sing, Chi, Chibobus, that our guests may enjoy themselves all the more and our feast may last more gaily." Chibo, Chi, Chibobus, Beboas, Chib, it's a funny word, Chiboboas, rise, his wonderful voice swelled all the echoes of the forest until the streams paused their course, and listening beavers came to the surface of the water so that they might hear. He sang so sweetly that his voice caused the pine trees to quiver as if a wind were passing through them, and strange sounds seemed to run along the earth. All the Indians were spellbound by his singing, and sat as if they had turned into stone. Even the smoke ceased to rise from their pipes while Chi, Chiboyabus sang. But when he had ended, they shouted with joy and praised him in loud voices. Okay, this is either Lago or Agu. Agu. Iagoo. The mighty boaster alone did not join the roar of praise, for he was jealous of Chiboyabus and longed to tell one of his great stories to the Indians. When uh, Iagu, Iagu heard all the adventures he had told of the greater one that had happened to himself, and to listen to him, he would you would think that nobody was such a mighty hunter and nobody was such a vigilant fighter as he. If you would only believe him, you would learn nobody had ever shot an arrow half as far as he had, that nobody could run so fast, or dive so deep, or leap so high, and that nobody in the wide world had ever seen so many wonders as the brave, great, and wonderful Iago. This is the reason that his name had become a byword among the Indians, and whenever a hunter spoke too highly of his own deeds, or a warrior talked too much of what he had done in battle, you his hearers would shout, "See, e- Egu is among you." But it was Egu who had carved the cradle of Hiawatha long ago and had taught him how to make his bow and arrow. And as he sat at the feast, old and ugly, but very eager to tell his ventures, Nokosame, Nokosames said to him, "Good Ego, tell us some wonderful stories so that our feast may be more merry." Hey, baby, which one are you? Which black cat are you? Okay, you got snotty nose, so okay, you must be. You don't look like you're okay. Okay, Dean. Okay, okay. Be merry. And um, Agu answered like a flash, "You shall hear the most wonderful story that hath ever been heard since men had lived upon the earth. You shall hear the strange and marvelous tale of Osio, Osio, and his father, the king of the evening star." It says Osio, Osio. Okay, and now we're in 12. It has an X and two I's, so that's 12. And this baby whoa, I shocked. You got so much stat. Ooh, and you got so many boogers on you. Okay. The son of the evening star. Okay. "See the evening stars," said Iagu. "See how it shines like a bead of wampum on the robes of the Great Spirit. Gaze on it and listen to the story of Osio. Long ago, in the days when the heavens were near to earth, and they nearer to earth than they are now, and when spirits and gods were better known to all men, there lived a hunter in the Northland who had 10 daughters, young and beautiful, and as tall as willow wands. Owini, Owini, the youngest of these, was proud and wayward, but even fairer than her sisters. When the brave and when the brave and wealthy warriors came to suit, each of the each of the 10 sisters had many offers, and all except Owini were quickly married. But Owini at her handsome lover and sent them laughed at her handsome lovers and sent them away. She she married poor ugly old Osio, who was bowed down with age, weak and coughing, and twisted and wrinkled like the roots of an oak tree. For she saw that the spirit of Osseo was far more beautiful than where he where the painted figures of her handsome lovers. All the suitors whom she refused to marry were they were many, came and point at her with gestures and laughter, and made fun of her and her husband. But she said to them, I care not your feathers and your wampum. I am happy with Osseo. It happened that the sisters were invited to a great feast, and they were walking together through the forest, followed by old Osseo and the fair Owini. But while all the others were chatting gaily, these two walked in silence. Osseo often stopped and gazed at the evening star, and at last others heard him murmur, oh pity me, my father. He is praying to his father, said the eldest sister. What a shame that the old man does not stumble in the path and break his neck. And the others all laughed so heartily at the wicked joke that the forest rung with merriment. On their way through the thicket, laying a hollow oak that had been uprooted in the storm, and when Osseo saw it, he gave a cry of anguish and leaped into the mighty tree. He went in an old man, ugly and bent and hideous with wrinkles. He came out a splendid youth, straight and narrow, handsome and very young. But Osseo was not happy in the change that came over him. Indeed, he was more sorrowful than ever before, because at the same instant he recovered his lost youth, and Owini saw changes into changed into a tottering old woman, wasted and worn and ugly as a witch. She had nine hard sisters with her, nine hard-hearted sisters, and their husbands laughed long and loud until the forest echoed again with their wicked merriment. Osseo, however, did not turn from Owini in her trouble, but took her brown and withered hand, called her sweetheart, and soothed her with kind words until they came to the lodge of the forest where the feast was being given. They sat down at the feast and were joyous. They sat down at the feast and all were joyous except Osseo, who would taste neither food nor drink, but sat as if in a dream, at the changed looking first at the changed Owini, then upon the sky. All at once he heard a voice come out of the empty air and said to him, Osseo, my son, the spell that bounds you are now broken, and the evil charms that made you old and withered before your time have been washed away. Taste the food before you, for it is blessed and will change you to a spirit. Your bowls and your kettles shall be changed to silver and to wampum, shine like scarlet shells, and gleam like the firelight. And all the men and women by Owini shall be changed into birds. The voice of Osio heard what heard was taken from the others for the voices of the whippoorwill singing far off in the lonely forest, and they did not hear a word that was said. But suddenly a tremor ran through the lodge where they sat feasting, and they felt it rise in the air high above the tree tops to the starlight. The wooden dishes were changed into scarlet shells. The earthen kettles were changed into silver bowls, and the bark of the roof glittered like the barks of a glorious glorious beetle. Excuse me. Then Osio saw that the 9 beautiful sisters of Owini and their husbands were changed into all sorts of different birds. There were jays and thrushes and magpies and blackbirds, and they flew about the lodge singing and twittering at, at many different keys. Only Owini was not changed, but remained as withered and as withered, old and ugly as before. So Osio, in disappointment, gave a cry in anguish such such as he had uttered by the oak tree, when, lo and behold, all Oweni's former youth and love returned to her. The old woman's staff, on which she had been leaning, became became a glittering silver feather, and her tattered dress changed into a snowy robe of ermine. The wigwam trembled again and floated through the sky until at last it alighted on the evening star as gently as thistledown on the water. And the ruler of the evening star, the father of Osio, came forward and greeted his son. Okay, give me another drink. The kittens have a cold, and I get one too. Okay. My son, he said, hang hang the cages of birds that you bring with you in the doorway of my wigwam, and then do you and Owini enter. And Osio and Owini did what they were told, entered the wigwam, and listened to the words of Osio's father. Have I have pity on you, my Osio, he began. I have given back your youth and your beauty, and have the birds changed into birds the sisters of Owini and their husbands, because they laughed at you and could not see that your spirit was beautiful. When you were and when you were an ugly old man, only Owini knew your heart. But you must take heed, for in the little star that you see yonder lives an evil spirit, the Wabino, and it is he who brought all the sorrows upon you. Take care you never stand in the light of that evil star. It gleam it gleams as it gleams are used by the Wabino as his arrows, and he sits there hating all the world and darting forth his poisonous beam of blightful light to injure all who stay in his reach. For many years, Osio and his father and Owen, Oweny lived happily together upon the evening star. Oweny bore a son to Osio, and the boy had a beautiful courage. Osio, a beautiful courage. Osio, to please his son, made little bows and arrows for him. And when the boy had learnt to shoot, Osio opened the door of the silver bird cage and let out all the birds. They darted through the air, singing for joy at their freedom, until the boy bent his bow and struck one of them with the fatal arrow, so that the bird fell wounded at his feet. But when it touched the ground, the bird underwent a change, and there lay at the boy's feet a beautiful woman with an arrow in her breast. As soon as her blood dripped from upon the evening star, all the magical charm of Osio's father had used to keep his son Oweny with him in a happy delight far above the earth were broken, and the boy hunter with his bows and arrows felt himself held by unseen hands, but sinking downward through the blue sky and an empty air until he rested on a green grassy island in the big seawater. Falling and fluttered after him came many bright birds and a lodge with Osio and Oweny in it, sailing lightly downward and landing on the island. When the bright birds touched the earth, another change came over them, and they became men and women once again, and they as they were before, only they remained so small in size, so tiny, that they were called the little people, or Pukwudgie, Pukwudgie, Pukwudgies. And on summer nights, when the stars shine brightly above them, they would they would dance hand in hand above the island, and sometimes in starlight they would dance with even now. They're even now. When the story was finished, Egu looked about him at the assembled guests and added very solemnly, "There are many great men to whom their own people often scoff and jeer. Let these people take warning from the story of Osio, so that they may not they too may not be changed into birds for laughing, and at their betters." And at the wedding guests all whispered to each other, "I wonder if he means himself and us." Then Chibobus sang another sweet, tender love song, and the guests went away, leaving Hiawatha alone with Minnehaha. Okay, I'm going to stop on this episode, so I only got a few more of these chapters to go. I know that was a horrible reading. So we're going to start on the next one. Get a piece of paper to write it down. We're going to be on 13.